Hey, what's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Connor. Getting into door-to-door sales has definitely been one of the best decisions I've ever made. I mean, sure, the money has been great, but honestly, that hasn't even been my favorite part about it. And with that said, there has also been quite a few downsides. So in this video, I'm gonna go over the pros and cons of selling solar panels. That way you can decide for yourself if this is an opportunity that you wanna take advantage of. We're gonna look at the reality of what it's like knocking on doors for a living and what exactly that's like. Also the commissions around selling solar, the good and the bad, and an overall industry outlook of the solar industry here over the next 10 years or so, because it has been getting kind of saturated, and at the very least, it's something to be aware of. And by the way, on this channel, I talk about my experience with entrepreneurship, so if you haven't already subscribed, go and do that now. That way you don't make the same mistakes I've already made, and that way you can also learn from my success as well. And last note, out of everything I've ever tried, if I wanted to go make quite a bit of money in a short amount of time, selling solar would be pretty high up on that list. So with all that said, let's go and get started. Now, in my opinion, the absolute best part about selling solar are the skills that you develop by knocking on thousands and thousands and thousands of doors. I know it sounds cheesy, but you really do learn how to be confident. You learn how to communicate, you learn how to sell yourself, and you learn how to sell a product. And these are skills that you can't learn by sitting in a classroom. They really are priceless. You also learn the value of consistency and of being persistent. And I mean, there's just really something to be said about after you're told no dozens of times in a single day, and then for some reason you push yourself to go knock on that next door, and they tell you to f off. And then you push yourself to go knock on one more door, and it turns into a sale. And you just made more money in a single day than what most people will make in an entire month. And not only are these skills that will stick with you for the rest of your life, but they also translate into all other aspects of your life. Whatever it is that you want to achieve, no matter how difficult it gets in the future, you're always going to be able to reflect back on that experience of when you knocked on all of those doors and how you got told no so many times, but you stayed persistent and you ended up achieving success that you never even knew you could achieve. And whenever you look at it like that, it makes a lot of sense why a lot of the famous entrepreneurs that we know today who are worth hundreds of millions and billions of dollars, they started off as door-to-door salespeople. For example, Grant Cardone, Sarah Blakely, even Mark Cuban started off by selling trash bags door-to-door. And although that's the best part about selling solar, it's also the worst part at the same time, because I mean, who actually wants to be told no all day long? Who actually wants to walk around in the hot sun for hours and hours and then go knock on the door and be told to f off? Or that they're calling the cops on you? Nobody actually wants to experience that at work every single day. So you really do need to be resilient. You really do need to have thick skin. You really need to remember that it's a numbers game. You need to see the big picture and just always push yourself to go knock on that next door if you are going to be successful at selling solar, because you will have some days where you don't make a sale, which means you don't make any money that day. And on those days, you're going to have a very long drive home. And again, if you don't remember the big picture, if you don't remember why you're out there, then it's going to become pretty difficult. Now, as far as commissions go, solar sales reps have access to some of the highest commissions out of any other sales job out there. You can expect to see commissions range anywhere from a few $100s to well over $10,000 for every single system that you sell. And it's fairly common for a rep to make over six figures in just 1 year, and it's not unheard of for someone to make over seven figures in a year. Now, that's extremely rare. It doesn't happen very often, but it's not unheard of. And do take all this with a grain of salt, because there are a lot of factors that play a role into how much money you're going to make. Luckily though, the biggest factor that's going to play a role in how much money you're going to make is you and your willingness to always go knock on that next door, your willingness to just keep on hustling. And that really is one of my favorite parts about selling solar, is that my success really comes down to me at the end of the day. On top of that, a few other factors that will play a role in how much money you're going to make include the company that you're working for, the compensation plan that you agreed to, and also your geographic location. There are a few places in the US that are just so saturated that you can't even mention the word solar in the first couple of minutes that you're talking to the homeowner. San Diego. Another upside for the commissions with solar sales is that the entire sales cycle can be fairly quick. You can go from prospecting to a closed deal all in the same day. So unlike maybe real estate, where you have to do the prospecting and then you have to get a home ready to show. You have to show the home at an open house and then entertain various offers and choose an offer, and a whole lot more goes into it than that. So that is one of the nice things about solar sales, is that the entire process can happen fairly quickly. So as far as the downsides, which unfortunately there are plenty of them, you don't actually get paid until the solar system is installed on the roof. And that could take anywhere from a few weeks all the way to well over a year. And the worst part is that a lot of the times, the factors that have to do with the time to install are completely out of your control. The biggest one being permitting with the county or the city. That definitely is the most time-consuming part to actually getting the system installed, because you do need to get the permits approved before you're able to move forward. And the longer that it takes for the permits to get approved, that is more time that the client has to rethink their decision and to potentially cancel the deal. And if they were to cancel, then you don't get paid anything at all. Another downside, which this one is a little bit subjective, and I am curious what your opinion is on this one, and it might even make more sense after we do an industry outlook here in a second, but commissions in solar sales are usually a percentage of the overall cost of the system. And of course, there's a lot of factors that play a role into that, such as the red line, but as the cost of the systems continue to decline, that also means commissions are gonna decline as well. And especially as the market gets more saturated, it starts becoming a race to the bottom. 10 years ago, the solar industry was kind of like the Wild West. People didn't know much about it, the market was underdeveloped, and there wasn't much competition as well. But with that being said, the cost to install solar was also quite a bit higher. And I mean, after all, the main selling point of solar is that it's going to reduce your overall cost of electricity. So as the price of solar has been falling over the past couple of years, it's been making a lot more sense for people to go ahead and move forward and get it installed. Back in 2010, the average cost of solar was around $7.50 per watt. And then in 2020, the average cost has fallen all the way down to $2.70 per watt. So it's been making a lot more sense for people to go ahead and get it installed. On top of that, the federal government recently increased the federal tax credit for installing residential solar from 26% of the total cost of installation all the way up to 30%. People who have previously been on the fence about getting installed, this right here is a push and it's motivation for them to go ahead and move forward. And with that being said, as it has been becoming more appealing to homeowners to go ahead and get solar installed, it's also been becoming more appealing to businesses to go ahead and enter the game and start selling solar. So yeah, the market has been getting more competitive. It has been getting a little bit more saturated. I mean, every time I get on a job board like Indeed to look at solar jobs, I feel like I come across a dozen new solar companies that I've never even heard of before. But in the end, although some people may argue that the solar market is becoming oversaturated and maybe too competitive, in my opinion, I believe that the overall opportunity is actually far outpacing the increased competition. And that's because as the cost of solar continues to fall and the tax incentives continue to increase, it's going to create a lot more potential buyers than it will salespeople who are willing to walk around in the hot sun and hustle. So that's just my opinion, but let me know in the comments what you think about the solar market and where it's going. Also, let me know how your sales are doing out in the field. I'm always interested to hear about that. Let me know if you have any questions. And if you did get any value out of this video, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. I'll see y'all next time.